as per usual, we begin these with a drink. Alright, I gotta put him somewhere safe because I am definitely gonna knock something over this episode. If not this episode, then this season. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to another brand new season of Rail Swing. Yes, we are still making these. Apparently, some of you are actually watching, so I'm like, alright, I'll keep making them. I've still got things to talk about jazz drumming and other kinds of drumming. We have never actually talked about any other kinds of drumming. We've only ever talked about jazz drumming. But I promise, someday, somewhere in the future, the other kind of drumming talk will happen. Let's see if I still remember how to do this. Most of it is still there, I think. Still alright, still can function. So, what are we going to talk about today? Well, today we're going to talk about something that plagues all of, well, I wouldn't say all, but many professional drummers, students, and people who are, just starting out playing jazz gigs and playing jazz drums. It's a problem that happens a lot, and it's a problem that not everybody wants to solve. And it's a problem that sometimes we don't want to actually, we don't want to succumb to. Part of our ego playing drums tends to disallow us from addressing this problem head on. What am I talking about? Well, I'm talking, of course, about the fact that most people actually misunderstand how jazz is supposed to sound and, how you're supposed to play the music in general. The problem is, I think jazz is actually one of the most misunderstood types, genres of music out there. The reason why I say this is because most people listen to jazz. I'm talking about everyday person on the street. Their exposure and their understanding of listening to jazz is a very small subset. That is very, it's a tiny context of where jazz is actually played and how jazz is actually played. I'm talking, of course, of people who only listen to jazz is like, oh, it's the elevator music, and that's not true because that's usually like a bossa nova, right? You go in an elevator, nine times out of 10 you're gonna hear this. You ever really, okay, maybe not 9 times as that. The other half of the time you'll probably hear it.
Jazz.
Maybe you should, you should take stock. Every time you go into the elevator now, or a hotel, or a Starbucks, or a convenience store that's playing jazz music, take a note. How many times is it bossa nova, and how many times is it jazz? And then maybe how many times is it whatever the shit foreplay is playing. Anyway, so because of that context of where jazz is heard most of the time, a lot of people immediately assume that jazz is meant to be played quietly, right? Like if you hire a jazz band for a wedding, most of the time when you start getting a little bit, in the thick of it, some people will come over and say, can you please play quiet a bit, very noisy, very noisy. And then you're stuck to playing jazz like this, right? And even the musicians are falling asleep, let alone the people listening. But sometimes you're required to do that because, like I said, everybody understands jazz in a particular context. Most people assume that it's quiet, easy listening music. You know, most people haven't really seen Elvin Jones and John Coltrane playing together, where Elvin is, you know, looking like he's trying to exorcise demons in his drum kit. You know, he's bashing the crap out of them. I remember Art Blakey especially was well known as a basher of cymbals. I'm not going to demonstrate them here because even I, in my tiny little room filled with Gundam robots, I have to respect my neighbors a little bit, right? And I don't want to blow up the sound. So, despite the fact that we don't like to do it, sometimes it is necessary to learn how to play really, really quietly and yet still be able to have some fun, right? So it all boils down to your ability to control your bass drum notes, like how small those can be, and also your snare drum notes, your little ghost notes, how small those can be, right? And able to create interesting things out of those small dynamics. Now, here's a cool thing. The smaller the dynamic, it doesn't necessarily mean the more tame the music is. In fact, I usually recommend that people play in small dynamics anyway, because the smaller dynamic, it kind of allows you to do a little bit more creative things without getting too much in the way of other musicians, right? So if you're training yourself to be able to play really quietly, you can get away with really busy and cool stuff, right? Without getting in the way of whatever else, and also without getting in the way of, you know, uncle and auntie sitting over there trying to enjoy a nice fancy dinner. So you can do stuff like this. You can, you know, be a little bit more adventurous with what you play, but if you're playing really loud, that sound just sounds really obnoxious. So play quieter, right? Learn to bring down your ghost notes to a really nice, comfortable level. Learn to bring down your bass drum all the way down to a really nice, comfortable level. And then, you know, everybody's pleasant. They're enjoying their smoked salmon on their whatever toast and, you know, whatever the hell they're eating. And you can just, you know, sit back, relax. Maybe now it's time to, you know, test out that group of 7 that you've been meaning to play. That's not a group of 7. I don't know how to play a group of 7, sorry. And you know, if they come by and really like accost you and say, play even softer than that, and you really want to comply, you know, you have to play like that. You know, if you really have to do that, I have a little tip and trick for you. One of the things that you can do, you know, to play that quiet, please your customers, and also still have a little bit of fun, right? One of the things that you can do is you can just comply, right? You know, smile, yes, comply. All right, we'll play a lot quieter now. We'll play so quiet that you almost won't remember that we're here, but we still want you to pay us. So take it really low down. So low that you can whisper to your bandmates. You can tell them secret messages. Hey, later we go for ice cream. Family Mart got new flavor. And then just halfway through while you're playing this quietly, all you gotta do then, just spice things up a bit. Just throw a big little whack on the snare drum. And pretend like nothing happened. And just watch the reactions of people who are like, oh, just sipping their little champagne and, you know, eating their canapes or whatever it is. Wow! Ooh. What the heck was that? And then they try and look around for the source of the sound. And then they realize that you're still doing this. So it couldn't have been you. It's the perfect crime. It can't have been the drummer. He's been playing so soft this whole time. Where did that explosion come from? Then they look at the sound guy. Ah, it's actually the sound guy's fault. He's been doing the thing right. And then the sound guy starts to panic. Hey, it wasn't me, it wasn't me, it wasn't me, it wasn't me, I promise it wasn't me. Then everyone starts blaming each other. And then you're just sitting here playing really quietly, just enjoying the drama. And when people start to forget, they realize that it's not happening anymore. It's like, oh, it was just a technical glitch. It's probably just some faulty cable or something like that. Maybe it was even the power problem, right? The power supply was a little bit inconsistent. Cause a little pop in the speakers. That was it. And once everybody's starting to settle down, starting to forget what's going on. Now, of course, one of the extreme things that you could do is you could play so soft until you actually just stop playing, right? You play. And then maybe no one notices. Then you just quietly get up, you take your tea, and you go back down to the lobby, and you call it a day.